I'm here to describe the threatening. Why do the strangers, everybody who is not myself, why do you collectively don't know who I am, but you don't know who each other are either? And you don't have the same problems I have. That means you have some kind of problems that make keys, and you have um, dwelling amongst one another after you have made keys or you have used keys that were formed illegally. I cannot help you with that. It's true that you're due in prisons on that point. So we have a lot of children or youth sized illegal alive chunks of human beings, and they don't make keys. Is not true. They make it possible for keys to be formed and given to, not given, but they are made by people around the youth who don't make the keys and use them themselves because they're babies or toddlers or they're just too small to handle the real physical keys. But they could be in there and they're not really myself. Well, that's abominating myself. I really can't use that there's such a thing as a baby shunt who's making keys so that I can have food here. I would not really succeed if I had to have the baby myself inside of my own keys. Have the baby myself, would you think that it's mine? Would you say that, were you pregnant and you gave birth to that baby? I can't have that inside of my keys. There are a number of Moser people who did that with babies in my same last name family. And when it comes to Charles Cho refusal to leave, I was living in a one-bedroom apartment paying rent. Nobody would give me another place to live, like a house for myself, because I was leaving them. You didn't want me to leave you. I'm not a baby myself. The people with the same last name as mine, they are all disfigured at this time. And I'm saying that at the risk of one of them who's sending me food, including these. He's sending me food and nobody else. Well, nope, they're still Mosers. And after 45 years of using the name Moser myself, so 44 years, about 44 years, the Mosers are still saying, um, there's no one who will give back you food. And that means you've been gluttoning, but you're at zero balance with the gluttoning. You have new people who are gluttoning, and there are old people who are not holding alive. And I'm still alive with people who are continuing what the other people were doing that are not holding alive anymore. And I don't afford it. I do need myself deceased. So I'm going to say that it's not fair that I'm here in God because it's deceased and threatening. That means I do know who you are, but I don't know why you are gluttoning. Because you have illegal, alive, homeless shunts of human beings that you are trying to coexist with in Keys. You enter a property that is due empty, and you go in there with yourself and with somebody else and with somebody else and with somebody else, and then you might even leave it and lock it up empty, and then God might have that empty um, property invaded by other people who are doing what you are doing, which is using a property for population control of strangers, and make yourselves friendly, make yourselves grouped, make yourselves a family, and make yourselves at home when you're really due to say that you are outside homeless on that point, that you may have made a key, but that goes to jail and prison because your genitals don't alive the house or building. And you need to know that because your genitals are illegal. So I'm looking at the internet feed to YouTube, um, and I don't afford the houses. I delight in the houses because I see them as God, with God above myself, as He creates the internet. But I don't actually afford that. You are going into very nice houses, and I live in a problem like this, which is criminal mischief on central air conditioning unit. Central air conditioning, that's the unit. That's the central air conditioning that was covered up when after this was installed. And there are people going into very nice, spacious new houses on the internet, and I don't have access to any such a place to be there myself for the time that it takes for you to die out of the threatening that it's a new place for you and for other strangers, like one of you at a time, looking at the other people in the house, and then you obtain food and you have a steady food supply for that. You don't know each other. I don't have food that way. I have that it's threatening that I'm not parking a car and I cannot get the food myself. And you have threatened each other that you are parking a car and you have a steady supply of food to yourselves in a property where you can control the strangers in the property with food. And you have credit. There's no one in this store who will tell you not to do that. I don't have a life that way. You think that I might be owing you money, and you give me free charges and I give you money I don't owe. I am the soul of the superior founder deceased. I alive the food supply as well as the whole formed world, and you don't alive even one M&M, and you don't alive the formed world, and you're paying the same charges that I'm being charged so that I don't have access. The charges are charging me right out of any access to what I would use elsewhere. In a new house, I'm out of access to a new house, like what I'm seeing on the internet, and I don't afford it.